Everybody stand for the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call to order the public hearing, ordinance meeting, public comment regarding the follow potential ordinance changes, the disabled veterans, we'll go with first with the disabled veteran exemption. Is there any public comment? Any public comment?
Are you going to give any information first before comment?
Well, it's a public meeting, so we'll go to public, or there is no public comment in the end, is there? Can I have a motion to move public comment to the bottom?
Well, you would have, first cycle, you would do public comment in the meeting.
Oh, yeah, we can do public comment in the meeting itself, okay. We'll do the disabled veteran exemption. So, in front of you, you have a copy, of that's the alternative, proposed ordinance to add additional veterans property exemption. As you know, the Connecticut Public Act number 25-68, PA 25-168, was passed on June 23rd, 2025, and signed into law. It authorizes any municipality, upon approval of its legislative body, which would be this board, it would be the Board of Selectmen, to adopt certain optional property tax exemption for military families. So we would go in lieu of exemption prescribed under subdivision 20 of section 1281, the general statutes, any residents of this state who has served in the Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Coast Guard, Air Force, or Space Force of the United States, and has been determined by the United States Department of Veterans Affairs to have service connected totally disability based on individuals' unemployability, shall be entitled to an exemption from property tax on 1, that fractional share of a dwelling, including a condominium, as defined in section 47-68A of the general statutes, a unit in common interest defined in section 12-63A of the general statutes, A, that belongs to or is held in trust for such resident, or that is possessed by such resident as a tenant for life or tenant for term of years liable for property tax under section 12-48 of the general statutes, and B, that is occupied by such resident as a resident's primary residence, or 2, lacking such residence, 1 motor vehicle that belongs to or is held in trust for such resident and is garaged in this state, as used in subsection dwelling, does not include any portion of the unit or structure used for such residence for commercial purposes, or from which such resident derives any rental income. B, if such resident lacks such dwelling or motor vehicle in such resident's name, the dwelling or the motor vehicle as applicable belonging to or held in trust for such resident's spouse, or proposed by such resident's spouse as a tenant for life or a tenant for a term of year liable for property tax under section 12-48 of the general statutes, who is domiciled with such residence, shall be so exempt. When any resident entitled to an exemption under the provision of this section has died, the dwelling or motor vehicle as applicable belonging to or held in trust for such deceased resident's surviving spouse, or posed by such deceased resident's surviving spouse as a tenant for life or tenant for a term of years liable for the property tax under 12-48 of the general statute, while such spouse remains a widow or widower, or belonging to or held in trust for such deceased residents, minor children during their minority, or both, while they are residents of this state, shall be so exempt as that to which such resident was or would have been entitled to at the time of such resident's death. No individual entitled to the exemption under this section and under one or more subdivisions 19, 22, 23, 25, and 26 of section 12-81 of the general section or section 241 of this act shall receive more than one exemption. No individual shall receive any exemption to which such individual is entitled under this section until such individual has complied with section 1295 of the general statute and has submitted proof of such individual's determination by the United States Department of Veteran Affairs to the assessor of the town in which exemption is sought. If there is no change to an individual's determination, such proof shall not be required for any assessment year following that for which the exemption under this section is granted. Initially, if the United States Department of Veteran Affairs modifies an individual's determination to other than service-connected total disability based on individual's unemployability, such modification shall be deemed as a waiver of the right to the exemption under this section. Any such individual whose determination was modified to other than service-connected total disability based on individual's unemployability may seek the exemption under subdivision 20 or 83, section 1281. Any individual who has been unable to submit evidence to such determination by the United States Department of Veteran Affairs in the manners required by this section, or who has failed to submit such evidence as provided in section 12-95 of the general statutes, may, when such individual obtains such evidence, make application to the tax assessor not later than 1 year after such individual obtains such proof, or not later than 1 year after the expiration of the time limited in section 12-95 of the general statute. As the case may be, for abatement in the case that tax has not been paid, or for refund in case the whole tax or part of the tax has been paid, such abatement or refund may be granted retroactively to include the assessment day next succeeding the date as to which such individuals has entitled to such determination by the United States Department of Veteran Affairs, but in no case shall any abatement or refund be made to the period greater than 3 years. The tax assessor shall, after examination of such application, refer to the same with the tax assessor's recommendation thereon to the Board of Select Persons of the town or to the corresponding authority of any other municipality, and shall certify to the amount of the abatement or refund to which the applicant is entitled. Upon receipt of such application and certification, the Board of Select Persons or other duly constituted authority shall, in the case of the tax has not been paid, issue a certificate of abatement, or, in case the whole tax or part of the tax has been paid, draw an order upon the treasurer in favor of such applicant for such amount, without interest. Any action so taken by such Board of Select Persons or other authority shall be a matter of record, and the tax assessor shall be notified in writing of such action. Effective October 1st. Now therefore be it further resolved that the Board of Select Persons of the Town of Seymour, pursuant to the authority granted by the Connecticut General Statutes, hereby authorize the establishment for the following guidance. Any veteran defined in subsection A of section 27103 with veterans or residents of such municipality and ineligible for the exemption from property tax under subdivision 19 to 21, inclusive of section 12 to 81, shall be entitled to an exemption from property tax provided veterans qualify home does not exceed 1. The applicable maximum amount as provided under section 12-811, or 2. An amount established by the municipality, provided such amount shall not be less than the applicable maximum amount under 12-811. The exemption provided for under this section shall be applied to be assessed value at or value of any such veteran's property and shall be in the amount of $5,000. Any veterans described in the section of this section who claims an exemption from taxation under this section shall give notice to the tax assessor of such municipality that he or she is entitled to such exemption. Any such veteran submitting the claim for such exemption shall be required to file an application or form prepared for such purpose by the assessor not later than the assessment date with respect to which such exemption is claimed, which application shall include a certified copy of such veteran's military discharge document as defined in 1-219, or b, in the absence of such certified copy, at least 2 affidavit of disinterested persons showing that the claimant is a veteran defined in section 27103, providing the assessor may further require such claimant to be examined by such assessor under oath concerning such facts. Each such application shall include a copy of such veteran's federal income tax return, or in the event such return is not filed, such evidence related to the income may be required by the assessor for the tax year of such veteran ending immediately prior to the assessment date with respect to which such exemption is claimed. Such town clerk shall record each such affidavit in full and shall list the name of such veterans, and such services shall be performed by such town clerk without remuneration remunification. Say that 10 times fast. No assessor, board assessment appeals, or other official shall allow any such claim for exemption unless evidence as specified in this section has been filed in the office of such town clerk. Any such veteran has filed for such exemption and received approval for the first time shall be required to file such exemption biennially thereafter, subject to the provision subsection C. The assessor for such municipality shall annually make a certified list of all such veterans who are found to be entitled to the exemption under the provision of this section, which list shall be filed by the tax assessor's office and shall be prima facie evidence that any such residence whose name appears on such list is entitled to such exemption, subject to the provision of subsection C of this section, as long as he or she continues to reside in such municipality, and as long as the legislative body in such municipality continue to provide for such exemption. Such assessor may at any time require any such veterans to appear before such assessor for the purpose of furnishing additional evidence, provided that any such veteran who may, by reason of total disability and unable to appear, may furnish such successive statement from the such veteran's attending physician or an advanced practice registered nurse certifying such veteran is totally disabled and unable to make personal appearance, and such evidence of total disability of such assessor may be deemed appropriate. No such veteran may receive such exemption until such veteran has proven his or her right to such exemption in accordance with the provision of this section, together with such further proof as may be required under such provision. Exemption shall take effect in the next succeeding assessment day. Any such veteran who has submitted an application and has been approved in any year for the exemption provided in this section shall, in the year immediately following approval, be presumed to be qualified for such exemption. During the year immediately following such approval, the assessor shall notify in writing each veteran presumed to be qualified pursuant to this subsection. If any such veteran has qualifying income in excess of the maximum allowed under subsection A of this section, such veteran shall notify the assessor on or before the next filing date for such exemption, and shall be denied such exemption for the assessment year immediately following for any subsequent year until such veteran has reapplied and again qualified for such exemption. Any such veteran who fails to notify the assessor of such disqualification shall make payment to the municipality in the amount of property tax loss related to such exemption improperly taken.
Who wrote this?
The attorney.
Could you repeat that, please?
Attorney Baturla.
Can we put it in layman's terms?
Well, I wasn't even going to ask that. Can we get rid of just maybe half of the suches?
Suches?
Really?
There was a lot of suches, just saying.
No, because you're picking
Closer.
You are picking up the maximum available veterans tax exemption. And in the other, and it's a very technical ordinance, as you have seen. And this
No.
ordinance was drafted, we worked extensively on it. Another community is using the exact same ordinance, and a number of assessors have worked through it and revised certain terms to make this work.
And the word such is providing what legal weight? Because
It's a-
we've got
it's a-
such veteran for such application for such year for such approval for such exemption. I'm like, what?
It refers to the specific exemption for such year. So you're either going to do that or you're going to rip the ordinance apart and then define it in a way that'll be completely incomprehensible, believe it or not.
But the application process for such veteran
Yes,
would be much easier than the 3 pages we were just read. So they,
Yes.
Yes.
and he's not going to go, the
Yes.
veteran, those veterans, he or she may not have to go through a digestion of
yes.
this. through
So
the-
if you have
Okay.
someone who has a service-connected disability, 100% employability, there's different kinds of
Right.
of disabilities. This is a very practical
Well, this is
disability.
total disability.
Yes.
And there's partial disability.
Yes.
So that doesn't qualify.
That's right.
Correct.
You need 100% under state law.
Right.
You get that for employability. You can exempt the residents, including a condominium, and up to 2 acres of real property. That was an addition that was added into the statute recently, last summer. So a lot of that addition caused a lot of municipalities to go back and look at this, because a lot of municipalities didn't act on this, and it was on the books with respect to the residences for 100% disabled veterans.
But we are gonna get asked why partials are not included.
Why what?
Why partial disabilities aren't included. We're gonna get
State
asked
law.
that. That's fine.
So
I'm
the
just saying.
answer to that is, this is the maximum tax exemption provided to disabled veterans in the state of Connecticut. It doesn't say if you're 50%, you get a pro rata. Doesn't say that.
Right.
This is, you're 100% disabled.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking about it from a town perspective, right? You're gonna have people who may, you know, if we're not clear about, you have to be, it's gotta be total, you know,
Yeah.
back to the word.
The
total disability.
assessor should put together a simple fact sheet.
Right. Thank you. That's where I was
So
headed.
what the assessor should do, I forget who asked about the applications, maybe.
Phil did.
Yeah, well, the assessor should put together a simple fact sheet and a simple application, including detailing the 3 documents that each veteran would need to produce. And Phil, that should work. That's the kind of thing that your assessor should do.
And I think that's what they're working on upstairs.
Yes.
Is to have that.
Yes.
I know Tara was working on it when this first came out.
Good.
And this is the maximum allowable.
Allowable,
It's so
permitted
even
under
if-
law.
Okay.
So is there anything in here that is unique to Seymour, meaning maximum allowable from the
No.
state? So, and the other example of it, the other town that's using it exactly the same format?
There are a number of towns now using basically this exact format.
Well, they have,
Okay.
it's the only one they can.
Yeah.
So we could.
Some people have
Opt out of it.
not,
We could opt out of it, but then why?
Right, exactly.
this is the local option. So you did not have to exempt up to 2 acres. Okay? That was added
Right, okay.
last summer. So what I'm saying is, a lot of towns have versions of this, but they don't have the complete package. This is the complete package. And the other ordinance that you probably don't have to read is the.
Thank you.
Is the, because
Gold
it's.
Star
Is the
spouses?
Gold Star spouse.
Yeah.
If a widow or widower, it's the same thing. The exemption continues for Gold Star spouses. That's also authorized by Connecticut general statute.
Okay, I'm good.
And think about it, you're talking about veterans who are 100% disabled,
Right.
you know?
So just to get you, this is for this, basically, it's the same thing for the veterans, but it's being passed on to the spouses, the
Yes.
Gold Star spouses.
Yes.
So it's a little shorter, it's only 2 pages, but I'm not reading it. It's only 2 pages.
Because the Gold Star spouse tacks on to the veteran's exemption, who has to, you know, produce all the documents and do all this stuff and certify the disability.
Selectmen, you have, the board has their questions, any questions?
I guess just a comment, I'm just surprised it's only 100% disability, where we have a lot of veterans who have,
I was gonna say,
this,
that's why I
you know,
jumped right
or
on that.
wouldn't have a disability at all if they hadn't served our country, so that's a bit of a,
That's what I was.
Yeah, but that's not
Choker.
what the state's offering. We could
That's
offer
right.
anything we want, right?
Right. I
But
think
the
we
state's
do.
offering this.
no,
you
this is the
can't.
maximum
That's
allowable.
exactly
That's
the-
the maximum
Phil-
allowable.
Phil, that's exactly the point.
Okay,
Under state law, like when we've had those discussions with the, I forget the gentleman's name, geez, I should remember, the fellow who comes and talks about senior tax exemptions.
yes.
And remember, I said, gee, it sounds like an interesting idea, it's a good idea, but you can only do.
Oh, Mr. Grega.
Mr. Gregg,
Yes.
yes. You can only do what state statute
Allows
allows.
us,
Right.
yeah.
I'll give you another situation, just to show what I mean by this. You've heard over the years, the tax collector cannot waive interest, right? can't waive interest, can't do this, can't do that. And, for example, you've all read about the Success Village, 2,000 to 3,000 people, 948 co-op units, Bridgeport Stratford line. I had the privilege and responsibility of representing both towns. I went to court, we did a trial. The judge agreed at the end of the trial, after a lot of machinations along the way, that a receiver should be appointed to take over and provide heat and hot water, basic necessities of life, restore financial stability. The state of Connecticut has stepped in to assist in restoring financial stability by proposing to make a $6 million loan. That $6 million loan to that co-op is going to be utilized to pay the delinquent taxes to the city of Bridgeport and the town of Stratford and to the utility companies who are owed well in excess of $1 million. This all went on during that period of mismanagement. It went from having a substantial 7-figure fund balance to, in 2 short years, they were destitute and they owed both municipalities. And why am I saying this? Because the legislators for Bridgeport and Stratford have come together and they're sponsoring special legislation to specifically authorize the tax collectors to waive delinquent interest in that situation. A specific legislative action must happen to give that power to the municipality. Veterans exemptions and tax exemptions are the same thing. You can only offer to the folks in your community that which is authorized by the Connecticut General Assembly, under
Well, the
state law.
state had to pick that up, that's the reason why they probably gave
Well,
a waiver to
They're
interest. Because
doing, when that's done, that's going to allow them to use money to fix code violations, okay? I mean, it's a lot of, but anyway, what I'm saying is it's the same principle. It's the same principle, and it's the same thing here. So it's 100% disabled. That's what state law allows. That's all it permits. And you're going to do the most you can do for your disabled veterans by passing this, and for the Gold Star spouses.
there's no way to find out how many 100% disabled veterans.
You'll find out when this passes.
We had that
There'll be a
information.
list.
They might have some
I
version
was
of
gonna
that,
say, somebody might have that, right?
because,
We were given that information.
yes, and I was given that information in one other town that I'm working in. So
I
they-
think by doing this, it
was a single-digit number in that other.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
It's
If you
100%,
said partial, though, then,
Go up.
it's 100% disabled for being employable,
yes.
or,
Under the VA standards, yes.
okay. Under the VA standards.
All right, well, let's not forget this is a public hearing, so.
Public comment?
Can we get a copy of that? I lost halfway through.
You will get lost halfway through that, that's fair.
Mike Kearney, Mountain Road, also the commander of the American Legion, who represents a bunch of disabled veterans. And what I hear is, what's the difference between exemption and abatement? Now, if you're talking about 100% disabled, complete and total through the VA, where you gotta get certified through them to get your 100%, and you hand it into the assessor's office, don't they get a abatement on their taxes versus an exemption?
I think,
Now, I get an exemption. I'm on the bottom of the totem pole. In fact, does this committee have anything to do with the regular exemption? Is this total?
This is
Because-
just, this ordinance is just for the total exemption,
100%.
100% disability.
So all my 100% veterans would have to go to get certified down to VA to get any kind of tax break through the state
yes.
with this.
This statute, this
With
ordinance,
this
Now, is
statute.
exemption the correct word or is it an abatement?
this is an exemption.
it's exemption.
It's not
So
an
what's the
abatement.
difference?
Well, an abatement is temporary in nature.
Meaning,
It doesn't have to continue. An exemption, this exemption will continue for as long as the veteran is 100% disabled.
is that, what's the maximum on this one?
5,000?
You said 5,000 for the state
The state said 5,000.
for 100%?
So
And
it's,
this supersede an abatement if you had an abatement?
I think this is more, yeah.
it seems like it, right, based on the two.
So anybody that has a disability rating in my post less than 100%, there's
Not under this law.
there's nothing else
Not
coming
that,
through the pipeline?
Well,
I
that's,
can't tell you that. I don't know what the legislators.
that's
are
why I
doing.
asked the question. This is
Yeah.
the maximum amount
I mean, I know.
allowable, which is why I said there's so many veterans that aren't 100%
Oh, yeah, we got a bunch
disabled,
of
so
them.
this is,
But
But
my-
even the ones, I don't know where the ordinances fall in, because our exemptions, like are based on the mill rate. So the mill rate goes down, my exemption goes down. My taxes go up, my exemption goes down, so what benefit am I getting, being a veteran? My taxes went up this year, and you lowered the mill rate because the reval, so I lost all my exemption. So I don't know who to
state,
contact through your office or whatever, to what they could do for the exemption status.
it's
Instead
the
of losing.
state, because the state is commanding the maximum exemption.
If you have local questions, I would refer you to the tax assessor. Start with the assessor.
Oh, I did already.
Okay. And there you
No,
go.
what I'm saying is, there's no jurisdiction in this committee.
No, this.
This is just 100%.
You can have, you want mine? You can have mine.
I have several copies of
Okay.
it.
Got lost halfway through.
I don't
Me
blame
too.
you.
But that's something now we can, we're speaking with our state representatives and state senators about the senior, tax relief. But now it's time, they finally passed 100% for the 100% disability. Now maybe it's time the state looked at other,
You spoke in Hartford on that, didn't you?
no, I spoke up in Hartford on the educational cost savings that they weren't not funding properly. But don't mind going to Harvard and speaking on that too. But we can talk to them about that. Is there any other public comment on the veterans' disability? Any other comments? Any other comments? Okay. On to the firefighters. Can I see I don't have my copy of the firefighters. Okay. So, the firefighters, 1631, 62, 621, 61. I think it starts on 6-2. I'm trying to pull up Chris Edwards one. Is there anyone here to speak on the firefighter one? Any public comment on the firefighter one? No, Paul?
Paul Wedowitz, 56 Davis. I've said what I said in the past. Has there been any proposed changes? I don't know that. If there has been, I don't know what they are. I don't know.
Didn't we leave last off that we were gonna go back and see if, we'd meet in the middle?
Yep.
Was there any comments on that, at least, or?
Yeah,
I
we
think
said-
that's a great idea.
We said to come back prepared tonight, because we're gonna move forward with whatever was being reviewed at the fire departments, or the
Meeting.
firehouse, and here we are.
I was at the last meeting. I made a comment. Does somebody want to Anne Marie? Does she want me to write something up? The answer was no, so I did not.
Okay, but does anybody have anything verbally to share that was discussed, that based on the last meeting we spent all that time on and what we asked to come back with, what is the outcome from your meetings?
Nobody asked us to come back with anything besides what was said at that meeting. The 2-year is a great compromise. I would encourage you to consider that. And the comments that Brandon said about somehow interrelating the town employees to one or both of the volunteer firehouses remains the same. Maybe some more detail about, rather than just saying these people will be under the training, blah, 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 of the chief and the board of chiefs, but there's no the details, so.
Okay, so we'll go with this one first. Because I have Brandon's comments that he had suggested, okay? But the fire commissioners, I want to make sure that I'm clear in what I'm saying. The fire commissioners did not put together any notes for this.
That is correct.
That is correct.
To be
That is
honest,
not correct.
I'll clear
Wait,
The-
are you speaking as an individual, or are you speaking as a fire commission?
As an
At this-
individual.
You're an individual right now?
Yeah.
So nobody stepped up to the podium from the fire commissioners?
I tried.
Okay.
I think I can clear, Patrick Keel, 11
Thanks,
Deer
Pat.
Run. 2 months ago, we had a long discussion, we were gonna come up with official, but then we ended up going through the whole thing that night. So then we left, and we were like, okay, everything's been gone through. And then Brandon put out a post about coming with some suggestions to the next one. Now, I gave him the notes that I created on a workshop that me and Chief Quinn, Pete Samperi,
Yeah.
myself, and Christian all came up with. And I gave those to him, and then he came and presented that to you. That's,
Okay, so that was
that's
the
where the,
collective.
that's
And
where
that's
the
what Brandon,
confusion
that's what you presented that night.
is. It was part of that and what he met with, like, I couldn't meet with him when they met.
Yeah.
But then they came up with some more Great Hill stuff, and then he incorporated all that and came back to you.
More Great Hill stuff or more Seymour Fire Department stuff?
We met with the Great Hill members. That was
Okay.
Brandon, 14 Forest Road Extension. Yeah, so I took Pat sent me in an email, right, and we all met at the firehouse. So it was members, and then everybody got to hear the feedback that Pat put together from, his perspective as well as the other fire commissioners. So it's kind of like an all-inclusive document is what I presented to you. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. This document that you presented,
Go ahead. I just wanna read it.
is that work you've done, or is it the fire commission's work? Is this officially what the fire commission is saying that they want? Or is it two separate? No.
Okay.
So that means so it's,
I got it. All right, so this is what Brandon gave to us. Submitted changes to Ordinance Committee 622 Enlistment, Qualification, and Volunteers. The department shall consist of not more than 200 people and shall be filled by voluntary enlistment from the citizens of the town and from the neighboring communities of Beacon Fall, Oxford, Derby, and Ansonia, under such regulations as shall be established by the chief and assistant chiefs, provided, however, that no one under the age of 18 shall be a member of any company, nor shall any enlistment be allowed for less than 12 months as of the revision date. Additionally, any employee of the town of Seymour shall be eligible to join the Seymour Fire Department without requirement of membership in either of the fire companies, subject to the rules and regulations set by the fourth of the chief and the assistant chief.
That seems like the original language, right?
It says Great Hill Company ordinance change recommendations
in red.
in red.
It's the red line markup.
It's the red line markup.
So in the red is this, so I guess.
Come up to
Oh,
the
I got it.
microphone.
I got it. Company comments. Come on
Yeah,
up to
and
the
then below
microphone.
that,
Yep.
suggest-
Come on up to the microphone, Brandon. Sorry.
Sorry, maybe.
How's
Just-
that?
Just
Fire
from,
company membership. Membership in the Seymour company comments.
Mhm.
Fire company membership. Membership in the Seymour Fire Department should require active affiliation with one or two recognized fire companies. Membership outside of a fire company shall not be permitted. So what Great Hill Hose is saying, Great Hill Hose members, because says Great Hill Hose. I have nothing from citizens,
Yep.
correct? Okay. Saying
fine.
that there should be no member of the Seymour Fire Department unless you're affiliated with Great Hill Hose or Citizens Fire Department. That is what you guys are saying, correct? Correct, okay. Training and oversight. Company officers are responsible for ensuring that all members are properly trained and informed on department policies and procedures. Both firefighters and drivers should receive training through curriculum established by company officers, including the soft skill training necessary to support tactical firefighting decision-making. Well, I hope the training and oversight is done now by your line officers and your chiefs and your safety officers, because that is a requirement. under OSHA?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Eligibility of non-resident town employees. Individuals who work within the town of Seymour but do not reside in Seymour or listed neighboring communities may become firefighters provided they meet all applicable standards and maintain active memberships in one of the 2 firehouses. Correct?
Yep.
Okay. Maintain active membership. All right. Participation and expectation. Reduced or limited social membership obligations are acceptable. However, all members must train with and remain actively affiliated with their assigned fire company. Now, I think the reason why they wanted the town employees who may have been firefighters in other towns was because if they needed to respond to a call during the day. Does the fire department still have, if you sign up, you have to go in front of the interviewing board and you're on a probation for 90 days? Do you still have to go in front of a board with these people who, I don't know, say they're facilities or say they're the IT guy and they belong to a fire department? Do they still have to join either Great Hill Hose or Citizens Fire Department, right? Go through the interviewing process, maybe not get approved by the interviewing process.
Yeah. So that's according to our bylaws, technically.
So, but
anybody
this
that
isn't
joins,
about
yeah.
the bylaws of the Great Hill Hose
Yep.
or of Citizens. This is the Seymour Fire Department to have people manage. So I understand what you guys are saying, but if they still have to go through the interviewing process,
That defeats the purpose.
that defeats the purpose of this. You understand what I'm saying? Because I've seen that firehouse deny people. I've seen it accept people. I see them suspend people. So it kind of defeats the purpose of that. But I understand what you guys are saying because you want to make sure everybody there has gone through the same process as everybody else. Go ahead.
Okay. We're gonna do this, let's do it. So,
Let's
this
do it.
answers the question of the third ordinance suggestion. And the last line, provided they meet all applicable standards and maintain active membership in one of the 2 firehouses. This is under eligibility of non-residents and town employees, / town employees. So if the Seymour Fire Department has a lack of, let's say, drivers in town, 9 to 5, a call comes in and we could utilize somebody, you want him to be a member, and he has to show his applicable standard, meet all applicable standards and minimum requirements. So he would be able to say, hey, I'm a qualified driver, I'm not a member, I'm a town employee, or I'm a non-resident, but a past employee or a past fire person here, but I still have my qualifications. Those are the people that you want?
So I think, if we take a step back, and because I feel like we're looking at this from a narrow perspective.
Yeah.
From a high level overview, I don't think anybody at the firehouse is really against people joining the firehouse, right? Whether they're town employees or not in town employees, that wasn't necessarily everybody's concern.
Okay.
Everybody's concern just came down to everything's done in a team environment, right? So when we all train as a team, right? Tonight we're going to go to drill and we're going to do something and we're going to learn new skills and we're going to work together on those skills and we're going to practice those skills, right? Citizens does that on Wednesday nights. Basically, the gist of everybody's concerns was they should at least train with people, right? It's not a matter of
I
whoever
agree
this
with that.
employee is, they can't join. We just want them to train with one of the 2 firehouses, whatever's convenient for them.
Correct.
So that, if they come and they, let's say, drive one of the trucks on the hill, they know where everything is, right? They know how, in this case, right, Ethan Iatt, he's the captain. Dave Van Wart, he's one of our chiefs that's a member up there. Every Tuesday night, they come up with drills, and then we practice those skills, right? And those are all the soft skills that people are concerned that if we allow people from the town to just join and then they don't have to train with us, then, there's going to be some sort of a disconnect there.
But your bylaws, correct me if I'm wrong, say that they must live in in the surrounding communities.
I don't know off the top of my head. I mean,
Commissioner Kehoe is saying yes,
There's a limited number of communities that you can live in.
right?
yeah.
If they're employees of the town,
How does that work?
They don't live in the communities.
But we're not talking apples.
Yeah,
We're
we- like-
talking apples and oranges here, because the original intent, now, I know I'm limited, you guys have been working on this for a long time,
Not
but the
really.
original I read, correct me if I'm wrong, was that sometimes as an example, during the 9 to 5 period where people are working, we may have a lack of drivers, and this would help. And to do that, let's put in an ordinance that town employees who are qualified and have basic requirements to do a specific task like drive can be utilized. This further goes and says, we want them to be members because of the backlash you were getting, they should be training with each other, and the way we train with each other is for them to become membership. So, one was presented, and this side of you is what you're saying now. I can address the first part, in my way I feel, is that I understand the fire department, both houses, the fire department, has a need for people in certain time frames or whatever, and can we utilize that? So on the surface, this ordinance says, hey, let's tap into people that are qualified, happen to be working in Seymour, or an employee of Seymour, or in the area that could respond, we'll use them. Now, your people are saying, hey, we looked at that, and we feel that they should be training with us, and they should be members. And Anne Marie's 100% right. I agree with Anne Marie 100% when she says it's two different things. Right? It's not the same thing.
They would be trained. I mean, your chiefs would be.
We already stated that they're trained. They're trained and
trained.
qualified.
Well,
Right?
let
They're
me, I
trained and
just want to
qualified.
state, if I agree that they need to they need to get to know the equipment because it's different everywhere.
Absolutely.
They need to understand how the operatives are at each house, right? But if you're going to get the full benefit of someone working in town being able to hop up to go assist when needed during the day, when that seems to be the lack, they need to be able to go to both houses and see the equipment so that they can respond accordingly. Otherwise, I mean, because let's face it, we've got one up on the hill where we've got a lot of the employees down here. So then they're all going to join one house and they'll all just run there because that's the one they're going to know and who they're going to train with. A majority of them, because during the day when they're working, they're in this location. So I think the better part of that is, yeah, they need to come learn the equipment at the fire departments, at the firehouses where they're going to be able to assist. But it should be both of them so that they can help wherever the call is needed and not necessarily need to join one house, because that really then limits them to this one location and being able to help when it might be a completely different location that's in need of that assistance during the day or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, there are people that can drive at both firehouses, so it's not necessarily like that's the issue. I think at the root cause, everybody just wants to make sure that they're at least training with some of the people, right? Like, this is the concern that I've heard over and over again. There's specific curriculum that, is applied for if I wanted to go and drive XYZ truck. Like, let's say I had my CDL. I don't, so I don't drive these. But if I did, right, like, I would have to pass certain curriculum to be able to drive specific trucks, and that includes soft skills as well as knowing where everything is on the truck. So I don't think it's that we disagree with you. I think that it's just like a tweak of the language to make sure that there's some sort of oversight, because a lot of the training is done in-house, right? Which is like, of course, like the chiefs are involved in our training programs, but for the most part, it's the line officers of each house that are responsible on a day-to-day basis to make sure that everybody's trained and cleared and
We
approved.
just have to be sure it's not stringent enough that it's going to make the people who are willing to get up and help during the day not even want to go that far, because they have their own obligations with fire departments that they are a part of. Because I think we're talking about folks who already have that kind of background, but they're not doing it in town.
Yeah, of course.
It's outside of town.
Yeah.
So
So
we're talking about a handful of people, or more, or as many as we could get. So then it would be just a simple point of the, keeping a record of their qualification, and however you want it to say, we want you to be familiar with the equipment. So make it a point at some time to do a familiarization check and
Well,
then
maybe
do it,
even
and
on
then
their
you could-
training night, come up one training night
Right,
and
but
let's
that's
go
gotta
through
be
that.
Right,
added
but the
to
training doesn't go in the ordinance. The training is something the firehouse has developed. That
Right.
does not go into ordinances because training regulations change.
Of
So that
course.
would not be in the ordinance. But what should be in the ordinance is that whoever joins should receive training, should attend a training and should be trained up to the company standards. Shouldn't say Great Hill standards or citizens standards. It should be saying trained to the standards.
And
So
that-
I agree
yeah.
with that.
Yeah.
And then, I'm not gonna lie, this continues to be a concern of mine, because we're going back and forth. Paul, you said that you couldn't really speak or have that meeting. And we have to stop this in town, and I can't force it. I have respect for both houses and every fireman that's there because of what you guys do and risk, but this is the fire department of Seymour. We have to get away from this house against this house, or you want to do things differently, that's fine, or you have your own ordinances. I respect that because you belong to one house other than another. But you have to be able to come together as a team to get something like this done. And I find it a bit shameful that Paul couldn't get up and organize something and speak as a commissioner to organize this for the department. And I'm looking at you because you're at the podium. I'm not scolding you in particular. Every fireman in this room or who's watching, outside, we need to be able to organize this as a department for Seymour under the town's umbrella and not just, this house versus this house, or
Then
we like this from this house and we like this from this house, so meld them. Like, there needs to be that conversation for the benefit of the town's fire department instead of the individual houses. And I really think that should be a priority of both houses to make happen. How do we work better together as a team? How do we get these types of things accomplished, working together as a team and respecting each other to the point we can come together and have these conversations and let our commissioners who are overseeing a department partake in that. That's what they're there for. So that's where I get scared with the silo and the limitation of terms and, I mean, that just continues to be a concern of mine.
Yeah, just to be candid, it wasn't like an us versus them thing. It was just
No.
like, I'm receiving feedback from 15, 16 people, and I'm just here to articulate
Yeah,
it to you.
no,
Totally
that's
understood.
fine.
Yeah.
And the next thing was the 3 years. The commissioners did not agree with the 3 years. The commissioners wanted to go back to 1 year, and then, no, commissioners wanted to go to
What are agreement, like,
2 years.
it's supposed to be.
Can you come up to the microphone, please, because people at home can't hear?
See, right now, even in the bylaws right now, it states they're supposed to be 2 years, but we, every year, re-interview the same person, even though it's 2 years, every year. We were like, how about we make them 2-year stints and you don't interview, and if you have a candidate after 2 years that you still like, you add a year to their stint. So then it would make it 3.
Right.
It's 2, but technically then after that way, so if someone gets through 2 years, they get another year, but we don't have to go another 3 years before we have to interview another, because
But if
we
when you
expand
say
that
you don't
timeline.
like them, that leads me to believe it's a popularity contest, right? Because that person,
Or
if they
just
still
getting
want,
stuff done or doing good-
if
well.
they still
Pat-
want the position, you should be able to have a conversation with that person and interview them. And if there's reasons that you're not going to select them again, you guys kind of have to treat it like a business. Like, you need to be
Well-
able to articulate that to the person.
Yeah, all we're trying to do is prevent, so when the guys do, they generally go through officers' stations in each firehouse first, 2 years, second lieutenant, 2 years, first lieutenant, 2 years a captain, then generally move up to the fire chiefs. If you make it 3 years, they've already done 6, and then by the time they get to the become chief, they've been at 9, so that's 15 years before they become the chief. And we're not moving people, we're stagnating a little bit as far as just getting people wanting to go, because then they find something else to do.
But
And that's why we're saying, keep it 2 years, and then after their 2-year initial, if they're, we like it and everything's still good, vote them in another year. And if there's no one after that, you vote them in another year. But you don't have to do it 3, because once you do,
And
like,
just
if they
because
3,
someone
you have
else
to do
wants
another
it and
3
they've
years.
got the experience, doesn't mean that you should necessarily just change either.
Well, if you're wanting to keep people, qualified people to keep doing it, you got to have some movement, or they just start to find other things to do. and
But
then
you
don't
have
wanna
pro-
come back.
But Pat, you already have process. If the guy was, let's say it's a 2-year stint. If the guy was in a year, he didn't like what was going, you guys can vote him out. Last time, that's what we talked about, that you have process that allow you to knock somebody out if they didn't meet requirements.
Right, if they
Right.
didn't meet certain
Okay,
requirements,
right,
and
that's
that,
what
and
I
that
mean.
would be
So
for
you
anything,
have the leverage to take somebody out if you had to.
right.
You make it to 2 years with the, I guess from a compromise, you make it to 2 years with the year extension.
Yeah,
and-
all we're saying is just don't make it another 3 that you have to wait to
But you don't.
get another
Yeah,
chief.
well,
Yeah.
we agreed to a potential compromise, but you still have processes in place, as Bob said, to have someone
take somebody
removed
out. Right.
if they're not doing a good job.
I think the 2
And-
years, sorry, go ahead.
I don't know, I kind of view it as just presidency, you're in 4 years. If you get reelected, you get reelected, if you don't, then, you know what I mean?
But we
One
should
side, yeah.
treat all positions at the fire department the same then, because I think the chief is one of the, I don't want to say the most important, because, listen, everyone's important, you have to
No,
work
yeah.
together. You
Yeah,
get
we-
it, I don't need to give that speech, but there is no reason to me to say, well, we can only give the chief 1 or 2 years, but the commissioners can have, what is the term, 6?
3.
3? Yeah, see, that makes no sense to me. What makes the commissioners more
Well,
important to have 3
I'm
than the
wondering,
chief?
when they originally set this up, why'd they make the chiefs 2 and the commissioners 3? I don't know.
The commissioners did that.
No, I'm saying they had some reasoning behind it, I don't know what it is, but
But the commissioners don't have a time limit though, right?
it's just 3 years.
They don't have a time limit
Oh,
though.
you mean, that's, yeah, they should cap it.
Term limit, right?
Yeah, we can.
Well, but as, to your point though, if you've got people who are really working towards wanting to have certain, positions, you can motivate them by letting them be a commissioner instead of someone who's already a commissioner running again and again and continually getting these 3-year terms. So the same can be said for every position. And I still go back to the point, I'm not saying that's the right way to do things, but it's also not the right way to do things. If the chief's doing a good job, like you said, you can reappoint them. But there's no reason, someone else might leave, and if they want to be chief of Seymour that badly, they'll come back when the position's available to interview. There's no reason to remove someone just because someone else is interviewing and has spent that time in. I mean, that's kind of,
I mean, it could be, like I said, they could be doing fine. Not the greatest, not the worst, you know what I mean? And it's just time to keep moving. we're just trying to prevent it from, like I said, when this starts getting drawn out, you start getting fewer and fewer candidates. We've
Right.
had,
But we're making sure that the chiefs and the assistant chiefs and the deputy chiefs that are going in have the requirements that were set forth by the previous commissioners, correct?
we would like them to have,
No.
if they're all SOGs, so standard operating guidelines, if they have,
well, we're seeing people, I mean, I'm going to be blunt. People, we have folks that are put forth that don't meet the minimum qualifications.
Then they're out.
Right, but
Right.
that's not for us, it's for the fire department to decide, but this is where I'm struggling with the
right,
decision-making that's
all we have
happening.
is SOGs because we're volunteer fire department.
That's fair.
Do most chiefs cycle through the commission board or no?
That, I'm not sure. Did you know, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, that's important. I think that's another important step, that if they've been a chief and they cycle through the commission.
And become a commissioner, that would be, should be the next step.
Well, one of the reasons why this has been working for decades and decades and decades is because some of the underlying things are like, you're a young man or a young woman and you're inspiring to work and do service and you want to move up the ranks. And the ranks, as you move up the ranks, the benefit of new wisdom, new knowledge, new technology gets invoked mostly in the younger people, and then it goes up. So you have a continuous line of people learning the new science and the new technology coming up through the ranks as they go through. That's one of the reasons why they move. The limits, when the commission should have some control over if a chief gets lazy and is not working up to par, that's the reason why you have a commission. The fire commission recognizes that and says, hey, either we can pinpoint immediate problems and do progressive discipline and remove them from the position, or as the bylaws or ordinances suggest, after he has to be looked at every 2 years. Now, they look at it every year, right? If I'm
Right
not
now,
sure.
yeah, which is, I
And
mean, It should be
And
every 2.
just as a check and balance. To go to 3 years, they inject the part of, you're a young kid coming up through, a young person coming up through the ranks, you're looking at the not being a possibility of moving for 12 years to 15 years. I understand that part of it. Continuity is what you taught me, and I listened to what you said, that once you get the ball rolling, but the ball's always rolling because you have a police commission and you have the structure, fire commission, I mean. And it's all about checks and balances. So if you're an eager chief and you want to do it and our prospects aren't heavy, then you stay in that position. But to keep it 3 years, and I think 2 years is an excellent compromise for this particular situation as the ordinance is and presented to the board.
Hold on a minute, Pat. Paul, sorry. Pat, I don't think the requirements are SOGs. Those are standard operating guidelines. The requirements are requirements. You're a chief of the fire department, you're supposed to have this, the deputy chief has this, the assistant chiefs have this. I don't think those were SOGs. Those are requirements. If I remember correctly.
It's near 7. I have one comment. I've been doing a lot of reading about retention within a volunteer fire department. One of the major reasons that retention sometimes drops is because of stagnation.
It's because of why?
Stagnation. Now, when you go at the bottom, you know if you want to, you know you're going to eventually go to the top. So, the downside of having somebody in a position in a volunteer department too long is other people develop why bother. What motivates volunteer firefighters is the concept that they're going to start at the bottom and go to the top. And by keeping somebody in a position for a long period of time, it creates a perception of stagnation within the volunteers. And I've read that countless times in experts on volunteer retention. In fact, I'll just read an article now. So, again, nothing to do with any personalities, but in a volunteer department, it's important that people move up. So.
All right. It's 7 o'clock. We have our Board of Select Persons meeting. You want to table this? Okay, have a motion to table the volunteer fire department referendum. Motion by Phil. There's your notes. Second by Bob. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries. We will adjourn the meeting and get ready. Oh, go ahead.
Are you going to go right into the ordinance meeting, or are you going to go right into Board of Selectmen meeting?
We'll go right into Board of Selectmen meeting.
So then you have to do something because you have an agenda.
We do. Can I have a motion to?
Motion to table the ordinance committee regular meeting.
Thank you.
Motion
What
for
you can
tonight.
do is call the ordinance committee to order.
Yeah.
And then
Vote on
do
this
a
one.
motion to table all the matters on the ordinance committee and put them over to the next meeting, if that's what you so choose.
We could also,
And then you adjourn the ordinance committee. On the other hand, you could call it to order and move the veterans tax exemption ordinances
Forward. Yeah.
forward to the Board of Select Persons, and then table everything else on the agenda and move to adjourn.
Okay, all right. Let's call the ordinance committee meeting to order. Everybody stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public comment. Disabled veterans exemption. Can I have a motion for the disabled veterans exemption?
I'll make a motion.
Motion to
To
move,
approve.
to approve and move forward. Motion by
second.
Bob, second by Phil. All, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 4-0. Can I have a motion to table the,
I'll make a motion to table the remainder of the agenda until our next ordinance meeting.
Second.
Motion by Trish, second by Phil. Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye, motion carries 4-0. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.